When you're healing from relational trauma, you are going to meet a number of different versions of yourself during different phases of the recovery process. So the first stage is denial and bargaining. And it's here where you'll often meet your wounded inner child. And this is where you'll often have those looping thoughts. If only I do this, they'll come back. If only I say this, they'll come back. Maybe if I had have done X, Y, Z differently, if I can just work to become secure, then they will come back and love me. And be careful, because this is where a lot of those predatory dating and relationship coaches take advantage of you in this situation. And what this phase is hope as a survival strategy. But then as we move past this, we start to head into grief and depression. And this is where both the wounded inner child and your logical adult self begin to collide. One feels abandoned, and the other is desperately trying to make logical sense of why this person left. It's heavy, it's exhausting, but it's very real and also essential. Now, after this, anger enters the equation, which isn't a bad thing depending on how you navigate this phase. This is your protective part stepping in. So the protective part comes in to essentially, if we have anger triggered and I did not like this behavior, that's where we begin or can begin to build some of our boundaries. It is actually one of the most important stages, especially if you have attachment injuries and you are often someone who is prone to codependency or self-abandonment in your relationships. But here's the trap. If you're not processing it in a healthy way or channeling it in a healthy way, and it's coupled with unhealthy and unhelpful narratives, it can become obsessive. And when you get stuck with this narrative that you just repeat over and over on a loop, that's what keeps you stuck, and it essentially can just become part of your identity. So you'll be ebbing and flowing through these 3 stages, and then you'll come up against the hardest stage. It's the hardest phase to enter, and it's also the hardest phase to process and move through, and that is integration. So with the integration, this is where cognitive dissonance really drives the show. So cognitive dissonance is where you're holding 2 competing beliefs or truths at the same time. Yes, they did love me or care about me deeply, but at the same time, they did also enact some very harmful behaviors that caused me deep emotional pain. And processing this cognitive dissonance is so uncomfortable and can be so challenging. It's honestly brutal, and this is why some people get stuck in one of the earlier phases, where you can be stuck in denial or stuck in grief or stuck in the anger phase. Because facing the complexity of this is far harder than just living in denial, grief, or anger. But if you keep working through this, and oftentimes a counsellor or a mental health professional is essential in being able to achieve that level of integration, this is when you can move into the acceptance phase, which is where you can truly let go and move on and move past this relationship.